Hello, everybody. Welcome to Virtual Sunday, a presentation of Whatsoever You Do. I'm grateful to be a part of the Whatsoever You Do team that's been pulled together. I'm Father Tim Shillcox from St. Norbert Abbey, and want to offer a few reflections on the scripture readings for the 25th Sunday in Ordinary Time. It's a 1990s movie. That's already a classic. I guess I must be getting to be a classic or an old guy too. Trains, planes, and automobiles. I love it in many ways because it makes my sister laugh so uncontrollably and joyfully. But it's a story about a pretty swanky businessman played by Steve Martin and a real down-to-earth salesman, John Candy. He sells rings for shower curtains. They both have the same problem, though. They're trying to get home for Thanksgiving, and there's all sorts of travel glitches. So they figure they'd do better if they would travel together. Turns out to be a comedy of errors in planes and trains, and especially in automobiles. They rent an old station wagon, you know, one of those with the fake wood on the doors from the 1960s or early 70s, and they're heading toward Chicago. It's late. Steve Martin is going to take a snooze in the passenger seat while John Candy does the driving. Just one mistake, though. He goes onto an off-ramp, or off of an on-ramp, but at any rate, he's going the wrong way on the interstate. At first, it doesn't show up because there's not much traffic in the dead of night. Then all of a sudden, people are coming by him. You're going the wrong way. They're trying to warn him. You're going the wrong way. First, he can't hear them. When he does, he thinks, I'm not that stupid. They're just pranksters. And he ignores them. Horns are beeping, people trying to save him from what seems to be impending doom. All of a sudden, then, Steve Martin sort of wakes from sleep. Along with John Candy, they see two 40-foot semis coming at him, head on, bright lights. Steve Martin digs into the dashboard, leaves the imprint of his terrified hand. John Candy, he, in panic, threads the needle through the two semis as they shave off the fake wood from the sides of the vehicle, the rearview mirrors as well on both sides. And when they stop, wow, he's excited. Steve Martin is mortified. I think of the movie with respect to the scriptures today, which remind us of how differently God sees things than we do, how differently God operates from our knee-jerk human impulses, and how much more generous and magnanimous God's justice is compared to our human sense, even our Christian sense of fair play. The parable that Jesus tells in the 20th chapter of St. Matthew's Gospel about the vineyard owner who hires workers at daybreak, at 9 o'clock, at noon, at 3 o'clock, at 4 o'clock, just for 1 hour. And he pays the guys who work 1 hour the same full day's wage that he had agreed upon with all the rest, and pays them no more, and they're frosted by it. It's not fair. He comes back at him, this vineyard owner, as the figure of God in Jesus' parable. I promised you, and I came through, a day's wage for a full day's work. Am I not free to be generous with this person who worked only 1 hour? And then he asks that question, are you envious because I am generous? The vineyard owner's generosity reminds the workers who are angry for not getting more than a day's wage how petty they are, how this for that, how quid pro quo they tend to be. And aren't they us many times? This is the second week in a row where the scriptures invite us as disciples and friends of Jesus, not just to bask in the generosity, not just to bask in the unconditional love and unlimited mercy that God gives to us in Jesus, not just to enjoy all the perks of being a friend and disciple of Jesus. They do much more. These scriptures invite us to see things as God sees them and to adopt the heart of God in Jesus Christ. To be as generous, as extravagant, as prodigal, as crazy and senseless generous with others and with God as God has been with us. Isaiah cautions us, though, this is going to go against the grain. As far as the heavens are above the earth, so are God's ways above our ways, and God's thoughts above human thoughts. We tend to think this for that. We tend to think a fair day's wage for a fair day's work. Let's face it, often enough, don't we want to get even? That's not what God is about, and that's not what God asks us to be about. Our relationship with God in Jesus is a two-way street. Last week we heard it in the question that Peter asked Jesus, how often must I forgive? 7 times? No, not just 7 times. You think you're being magnanimous, Peter. No way. 70 times, 7 times. As much as it's needed, because that's how God forgives us. And let's face it, who among us has not received something that we did not deserve? The truth is, all His gift, our life, our loved ones, our talents and abilities, God has been so generous to us. If a narrow human form of justice, especially in terms of vengeance and trying to get even, if a narrow form of justice in terms of I'll just do the minimum to get by and no more is what motivates us, oh, brothers and sisters, then we're going the wrong way. St. Paul has got it. A legalistic Jewish Pharisee, he's in a much different place here. As he writes to the Philippians, he doesn't know whether he wants to live or die. If he lives, productive toil, he's the Lord's, and he's the people of God's, and he gives himself away to his ministry. And if he dies, he's the Lord's, and he'll be okay. It will all be well for him and for us. So buckle up, friends, for a set of weekend scriptures, second one in a row, that invite us not just to do the minimum, not just to do this for that, but to be as wild and crazy, extravagant and generous, prodigal, out of our senses, giving away of ourselves in love and mercy and service and joy and witness, just as God has been so crazy generous to us in the life and death and resurrection of Jesus. God bless you.